Hello, everybody. We're live, and if you can hear us, let us know, and let us know where you're from, as our tradition.
One comment at 4 p.m.
Yeah, let's wait a minute, see if we get a few people here join us today.
Oh, nobody's here. Let's go home.
All right, there might be some delays. Hold on. First from cool. All right. Hi, Trucking with MC, Paul, Ken, the Stubborn, Bulldog, and Dixie, May. Welcome, everybody. 22 people already. Happy Friday. Can you hear us? Thank you very much. All right, remember today we wanted to talk about 8 electric APUs since we just made our first install. Want to give you guys some feedback from our from experience we get from this installation, and also our future plans, since it's kind of a great deal for us. Ryan and I spent a lot of time, and we really think this is something that we wanted to offer to the market, and it's a great solution from us, truly. Yeah. All right, while we are getting people come in, as a tradition, I am going to continue to allow me a couple minutes to introduce our channel sponsor today. It's Trucker Guide. In this channel, Ryan and I get the privilege to meet and discover wonderful businesses that are serving our trucking industry. We're always excited to share the best of the best with our viewers and subscribers, because the people who are behind those wonderful businesses are just like us, Ryan and I, who are passionate about what we do and have a goal of serving this wonderful group of people like you guys are behind the wheels. So Trucker Guide is our sponsor of today. It is a complete free app that is innovative and user-friendly, feature-rich service designed to help navigational assistance for truck drivers, owner-operators, fleet owners, and other professionals in the trucking industry. Guys, if you haven't downloaded this app, feel free to check them out. There's a few great features I wanted to mention to you guys. They told us they have, I've checked out their app. They have up-to-date information about diesel prices, parking spot availability, real-time weight station status through just the color of the icon on their screen. Red is closed, green is open, so you will never waste your time to stop at a weigh station that is closed. It's very plus. It's a great plus. The second thing we wanted to mention is that they provide the live snapshot of the road condition. Yeah, from highway cameras.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, I know it is. From popular highways and roads, allow users to stay informed about current road conditions. Really, really helpful in the winter conditions. And yes, the best of all, look at our business is already on their app. So you have access to all the businesses for the trucking needs. You can see our business on the screen, and always the app display the business name, services, location, Google reviews directly in the app. So how convenient it is. So again, this is the free app that we wanted to introduce to people of our followers. Where Ryan and I are happy to promote this app, and then we highly recommend you to check out Trucker Guides today. It's available in Apple Store and Google Store. Well, that's it. So I'm gonna head back to for Ryan to talk about today's topic.
And kind of piggybacking on that, it's always good. You can never have too many tools in your toolbox. So I know there's a lot of other apps out there, Trucker Path, stuff like that. But this one seems pretty cool, so definitely check it out.
Yeah, their goal is just keep the app free.
And there's no subscription. I know some of the other apps you got to pay to get more of the features. You got to pay subscription.
Their goal is always develop just a free app for everybody.
But anyways, so today's topic, I believe, is so we just did our first APU install with our the 12 volt split unit AC system, and the lightning volt lithium, Type 31 lithium batteries, 100 amp hour batteries, 4 of them we put in. I don't know if we've had any feedback yet from.
I haven't heard back from him. I'm sure
I
we're gonna
know
hear
they
back.
were talking about, they were looking for a trailer or something, or they're with Landstar, so they're looking for a trailer to go head out to California or something. So, which I know it's probably, I would assume it's kind of hot out that way. So we're kind of waiting on feedback. So yeah, I mean, took us about 2 weeks to get everything kind of, when you're initially putting something together for the first time, you forget about stuff. Like we got about a week into it, and it was like, oh, we didn't get a battery box or build a battery box. And I started calling about battery boxes, and I think Iconic Middle Gear, I think they're out of Ontario, Canada. They're the only ones that I believe that I see out there that are actually making a frame mounted in a step box type battery box to put 4 Type 31 size batteries in. And I called several vendors, and everybody was like 6 weeks out. And then I actually called Iconic directly and said, I'll buy 10 units, right now, buy them directly. And they're all sold out, like 40, somebody's buying like 50 or 80 at a time. So it'd be like, so even though the vendors are telling me like 6 weeks, like Iconic was telling me, no, it's really going to be 8 weeks. And that's if you place an order with us today. So if you're going to another vendor buying one at a time, I mean, you're probably going to be out longer than that. So we ended up finding a Freightliner, one of those plastic OEM ones we used because it was a Freightliner. So we found one of those to use for the battery box. And then afterwards, it was an afterthought, but it was this, when we're working on so many different other projects here, other trucks and all that at the time, I was like, okay, we need to isolate the batteries from the starting batteries. So we had to get a bistable or relay. So we ended up getting one of those in, but every time you miss something, it takes you 2 days or whatever to order something or get it in. So it was kind of drawn out, but now we've kind of got a good bill of materials for the units, and everything, once, like I said, on startup here, everything worked out pretty well. I mean, he did the job. So I mean, we got some other ideas that we've been kind of thinking about. I know we had, like, on our website and our pricing, all that, we had an AGM option. And I actually think we're going to drop that option, basically do
just lithium right
with the AGMs, unless you have an upgraded alternator, like you're going to need like a 300 amp, alternator to charge, because the charging cycle is the way an AGM charges versus a lithium battery. You would have to have, like, you just get a lot more expense. So, like, the time we put a 300 amp, 40 SI alternator on a truck, we're in, like $800, and the labor to do that, and upgrading cables and all this other stuff. And then, then if you went to more AGMs are super, super heavy to begin with. And when we started thinking about this idea like 2 years ago, like how to make originally we were kind of looking at making a cheaper, simple gas or diesel powered APU unit with just like like a automotive AC compressor, and just making everything kind of more relay logic instead of computer boards. That's kind of was the first step. Then all this stuff with different vendors, with the lithium battery vendor, and also the split unit, 12-volt split unit AC unit. Like within like 2 weeks, they had both kind of reached out to us, and this all kind of just came together, like, I guess, kind of organically, I guess you could say. So it's kind of interesting how people reach out to us and was able to put this together, and going with an all electric unit. But down the road, I mean, originally I had 3 concepts. I mean, the first one is obviously price. I mean, the carrier units and the tri-pack units are, you're getting well over $12 to $15,000, give or take, and even some of the other kind of knockoff or other manufacturers out there are still probably $10K plus. So one of our goals was to try to come in like half the price as a traditional carrier or tri-pack. Second was simplicity, to be something pretty simple that's easy to put together. Readily available local parts, something that somebody that's, dangerous, with a wrench or multimeter and stuff like that can work on themselves. And the last thing is weight. All the, that are trucking out there, weight is a huge factor. So, I mean, obviously, tri-packs, you got a 2-cylinder engine, diesel engine, then all the other components, and then some of the other traditional electric APUs with AGMs. AGMs are like 75 pounds a piece. So I mean, if you're putting 4 or 8 of those in, I mean, you could be adding up to 600 pounds of weight just in batteries. With the lithium batteries we're using, they're like 22 pounds. So with 4 batteries, you're like at 88 pounds. And with the battery box in there, I mean, the whole system we just put out, I don't think it's over. Everything is over 250 pounds, roughly. So
I think the AC unit weighs roughly
75. I think the inside unit's about 25, and the outside unit's about 50.
Pounds.
So, and then with the battery box, probably weighs 25 or 30. So I think we're under that 250 mark. And then with those types of units, you do get that 400-pound exemption. So if you're getting that 400-pound exemption and you're only 250 pounds, you're actually going positive 150 pounds. What you're kind of banking with that exemption as well a little bit. So,
yep.
So I guess that's kind of where we're at on that. And like I said, hopefully we get some more feedback with field testing and all that. I mean, we have put some pricing out there, and I feel pretty confident about that this time. And unless we make any major changes.
Well, just to make clarification for people that initially we wanted to offer AGM option because of pricing. However, after knowing that with AGM option, we have to upgrade the alternator to a 300 amp. So that will add additional cost into that package. So we have decided just go with lithium option because right now everybody's going lithium because of weight factor and because of the, you don't need to upgrade your alternator. You can use your stock alternator. So that's our option going to the market right now. If you are asking us to be clear, so our package price at this moment is $7,700. That's installed with labor, material. Also note that if you want us to connect your what is that, like inverter?
Yeah, an inverter or a DC to DC charger versus a basically a battery isolator.
Yeah,
that'd
those
be
are
different,
additional charge
or whatever.
yeah.
But basically the way that we put this one together, that's what the pricing we're at right now.
Yeah.
But anyways,
so if you guys have any question for us, and also we have actually, Ryan, you want to touch base on the additional options we might offer come to the market later, because people concerned about with a battery you only have limited hours to run. You can, even though with lithium battery you can go up to 10 to 13 hours of runtime. However, people, if you're sitting in the trucking lot to do your 34-hour break, how it's gonna work if somebody really don't want to idle their engine to charge a battery?
And kind of with that, with the batteries that we're using right now, so we're using the lightning volt batteries from Road Warrior.
Yeah, check them out if you already have a electric APU installed with AGM option. If you ever wanted to go into lithium, check the Road Warrior's lightning volt batteries. Yeah. So
I know there's a lot of uncertainty, I guess, out there. I mean, I've seen a couple comments, which we'll touch on, but so these batteries, they are the size of a Type 31. They're less than half the weight of a traditional acid filled, and a third of the weight, or less than a third of the weight of an AGM. But they've been in testing for 4 years with a fleet in Canada. I believe they had 40 units, 40 trucks that they had them on. And they're running a AC unit and stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
But they've been getting 10 to 13 hours on a charge. Charge time is about 5 to 7 hours, which is probably, I mean, you're going to be probably 40% more charge time with the same with an AGM in comparison. With a lithium battery, you can draw them down a lot deeper than what you can an AGM without damaging the battery. So I think it's a lot better option. And then there's, like I said, you have that they are running these standard 160 amp alternators, just the way that lithium charges differently than in an AGM. Then there's been some questions about temperatures. Obviously, like I said, they've been testing these in Canada for the last 4 years. It gets a lot colder than it does down here. It does get cold here in northern Ohio, but right now they're rating them to negative 20 Celsius, which is -4 Fahrenheit. So I think that's going to cover most. I mean, yeah, you might have a couple days somewhere where you're going to be below that, but I think most of the places in the U.S., you're going to be, as far as temperature. And obviously in the wintertime, that's kind of the other side of that too. I mean, in the wintertime, you're obviously not going to be running AC. So and obviously like a diesel, like an SPAR or Webasto or something, a diesel powered bunk heater is going to be more of a fit for something that cold anyways. Now, if you're using like a heat pump or something, and like a heat pump sweat unit, like somewhat like a carrier design, because because the carrier units are a 6K generator with basically a heat pump type unit, electric heat pump unit.
Yeah.
So if obviously then if you were drawing off batteries, then it was that cold, it'd be a problem. But I'm not seeing it as being as much of a problem because obviously you're not running the AC when it's -4 outside or below -4, so you're not going to be drawing as much. And obviously a a diesel bunk heater would be more logical. So, and that's another option. We're looking at some of the cheaper versions. They're coming from Asia. Then also looking at probably the Webasto was probably one of the ones we're going to offer here as well. So I'll kind of stop here and grab a few questions.
Yeah, you wanted to touch.
So that's a great. Okay, so can we run more batteries on it than a typical configuration? So I mean, you can. That's one of the options that we're thinking about. So if you look at the amp hours and if you look at the draw, like the unit that we're using is like 576 watts. So doing the calculation with the amp hours of the battery and all that, you're at around about 2.5. I mean, on paper is about 2.5 hours per each battery. So that's why we're kind of come up and testing. I'm thinking at least 10 hours. In the testing they've set up to 13 hours. With the 4 battery configuration. But that's the one thing nice is that these are really light. So yeah, you could put 6 batteries in there, then that's going to give you at least an extra 5 hours because you can still run those in parallel. I mean, you could parallel as many batteries as you want in theory and still have 12 volts. And then there's some other options. I know we were talking about this with another party about maybe possibly going to a 24 volt system, and this is all just thinking out loud type of stuff, to where if you were to go to a 24 volt split unit system, and then you could just use a 12 to 24 volt DC to DC charger and have a separate 24 volt system to run your cooling system, because the higher voltage is less amperage, a little bit, possibly a little bit more efficient. So, I mean, and you could even go up, I mean, you could even go to 48 volts if that was an option too. So, but yeah, I was kind of thinking about possibly building a battery box where we could put 6 batteries in it to give you,
additional hours,
50% more capacity. So and then you're only adding basically 50 pounds of weight. So it's not like you're throwing 150 pounds more of AGMs in there. So that's another plus too. And and the battery box can be a little bit lighter because you don't have all that weight. So yeah, I mean, just kind of talking out loud here, I don't think it'd be an issue to do 6 or 8 batteries in parallel and still be a 12 volt system. So.
Yeah, did you talk about the generator idea to have like a hybrid system?
So I was looking at a couple other options too for like doing a 34-hour reset or whatever you're doing if you're sitting somewhere over a weekend. Obviously the solar panels are out there. So I mean, if you're in a place that's got a lot of sun, then that's would be a good option as well, where it's other than the cost of the solar panel, it's free power, but burn fuel. And then we were kind of looking at an option of putting either a gas or a small diesel powered, generator, 12 volt, that you could run to power all your, recharge your batteries and power everything if you were sitting for an extended amount of time, which, I mean, with just an engine and basically an alternator or a small, I mean, probably better off to use an alternator that's already 12 volt instead of going to AC, then converting it back to DC. Would be the cheapest option. So basically just an engine with a big alternator, maybe even like a 250 to 300 amp alternator that you could just run by itself. So those are some other options we're thinking about putting together out there. But like I said, this is all just kind of thinking out loud, and as things kind of go forward and kind of throw things at the wall and see what sticks. So
yeah. And so hybrid is a great idea.
Yeah, I mean, because obviously, I mean, batteries, the technology right now, I mean, yeah, you can get a lot out of them, especially with the lithium technology. But like I said, you're not going to sit for 30 hours without starting. I mean, it's just not the capacity. I mean, yeah, maybe you had 20 batteries. I mean, you'd be fine. But with and yeah, and like I said, the solar is a good option. I mean, if you had all three components, the batteries and some type of DC generator, and then a solar panel as well. I mean, it could be a good package. So.
Yeah.
So okay, 80. How near are we to 80/90? So we're actually on US 30 and I-77. So 80/90 is up closer to Cleveland. It's 30 miles north of us. So if you go straight up, 77 to 8. So.
Yeah. All right. Lucas Oil and thermal tin tri-pack. What about that one? Yeah, answer a question from Trucking with MC.
Okay, Lucas Oil. I've never tried that. I mean, I don't use a lot. I mean, I use the Lucas Hub oil a lot in hubs, but as far as the putting it in engines and stuff, I have a few customers that might have us put a gallon of it in, on an older C15, 34.6, whatever. But we don't. I mean, we've probably got a case of the engine stuff back there. Yeah, I don't know. It's just stuff's extreme. It's extremely thick oil, so I don't know. I'm just not real. I'm not a big proponent of a bunch of additives, so I don't really have a definite yay or nay on that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. How about this one? Let's look at here. You work on the Tiger Eye, no air system.
I have worked on. I had one with the T680, and he had a trouble with the APU side batteries were not working, and it was actually that bistable relay, which was the problem with that one. So, but again, that's basically the break between your starting batteries and the APU batteries. So yeah, I mean, I work on pretty much anything. So I mean, if it's something you want us to look at, then give us a call and see what we can do for you. So.
This one. Yeah, still looking at some questions, guys.
Yeah.
Yep. Recommend something for slating the battery.
Yeah, panel installation.
You want to look at this one? I'm going to put it over here.
Yeah, so yeah, for the cold weather, kind of mentioning vacuum panel installation. Yeah, and that's another option as well. I mean, like I said, I'm not as concerned about the colder weather. I mean, I know it's been brought up like a couple of our customers.
Yeah.
But if somebody's going to be in cold air and they are wanting to use that power, I mean, those are all options that we'd be definitely want to look into, and appreciate the tip on that. So.
This one. Do you have a Robin Air evac system?
No, I mean, we just have a vacuum pump and we use like a reclaim tank, but yeah, we work on AC stuff, I mean, all the time. So I mean, if you're needing a new condenser, evaporator, whatever, air dryer, or a dryer cartridge, I mean, that's all stuff that we can do. So
yeah, want to keep going down here. This one.
Okay, so you just brought that up. The person was looking at a truck and didn't care for the engine. What would be a few things to consider? Want to go with a different brand engine. So basically, if you're going from Cat to Cummins, depending on what year and all that is, your customer I mean, obviously you're going to have to get a different harness or have to kind of reverse engineer that to put a OEM side connector onto your ECM to be able to make that talk to the truck. I mean, and if you got a chassis node or another word for chassis, basically a chassis ECU or something like that, because a lot of the later model trucks, I mean, going 2010-ish around there and newer, like when you turn on a light switch, it doesn't actually just power from the battery, go through the switch and turn the lights on. It actually sends a signal to a chassis ECU, and then it tells the lights to turn on. So, I mean, it gets kind of complicated with that type of stuff when you're trying to interface. I mean, especially if you're trying to put an older engine into a newer truck, which we don't recommend anyways for legality reasons and all that. But when people do it. I mean, that's fine. Whatever you want to do, but if it's your stuff. But but it technically isn't legal. But it kind of makes it tricky when you're trying to do stuff. I mean, a lot of times if it was if you got a 2006, Kenworth or whatever, where they offered a Cat or a Cummins, then you could go to Cummins or not Cummins, but Kenworth, and they would be able to theoretically get that harness for you too. I want to go to a Cat, so you should be able to get a harness if it was offered at that time. But if it's something that's later, or because most of the Cat engines were gone after 2007, 2008, as far as a highway engine, so it gets a little bit tricky if you're trying to put a Cat engine in something after that, because obviously that option for a harness wouldn't have been offered, so you'd have to kind of engineer something yourself for the most part. So
yeah. Well, I think this one is a ham bone. Thanks for the question. I think I have a suggestion for you. Give us a call. See if we can help you. I think he's very smart. He can help you.
The most common, I don't know what year and make and model of truck you have. I know we see it a lot with the T680s Kenworths and the 579 Peterbilts. The power distribution PDC. Yeah. A lot of times they get water down in them, or like the outside fuse box, like the seal, like sometimes you'll break the clip off and that water from underneath the hood, because that's right by the wheel, so you get all that water, salt and everything else that comes up and gets in the PDC, and there's like a printed computer board in there, and it corrodes everything, and you get multiple faults intermittently. Like if you got an automated transmission, you might get an emissions fault, an ABS fault, and the transmission fault all at once. And typically when we see multiple systems on those particular models, it's usually that PDC. Other things where you get intermittent faults, a lot of times it's in the wiring harnesses. We see it and I have a customer in Over International here right now where he's has some faults as well, and it's in I think it's in the chassis harness, but sometimes the price of the harness, I mean, I could spend days going through a chassis harness trying to find a needle in a stack of needles, when it's a lot of times it'd be cheaper. I don't like to just throw parts at stuff. I don't think anybody does. But a lot of times when you have some type of fault in a, he said T680, most likely if you have a bunch of, I don't know if you're having, I don't know. Let me finish that thought before I get back into that. But yeah, if a lot of times if you're having intermittent faults, and if it's in a harness, it's a lot of times it's cheaper just to replace the whole harness, whether it be a chassis harness or a one box harness, or a DPF, DOC, SCR harness on a Cummins or whatever. A lot of times it's a lot cheaper just to replace it than it is to actually like try to find the problem. A lot of times you have multiple problems with plugs, whatever. I see a lot of people on a lot of the some of the plugs on the Cumminses where they got the little clip, that little red clip that goes in and locks everything. People will break those out. And if that clip ain't in there, that plug, it won't lock and engage all the way. So you'll get a intermittent broken connection. So that's an issue. I mean, that's something to consider as well. And a lot of times, like, instead of just replacing a harness, they'll just keep bleeding you dry.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, like for the one boxes, I mean, the harnesses are extremely cheap. I mean, they're like $200 for a whole one box harness, and you can change them out in less than an hour, even if you've never changed one before. So that's something to consider as well. But yeah, the going back to the T680, we've changed. I think I've changed 3 or 4 of those here. They are quite pricey. But if you're having on those, the T6As, the 579s, if you're having like multiple systems, I would that PDC isn't that hard to change out. There's 4 big plugs on the inside. If they're a manual transmission, you have that clutch pedal over there, and they're a little bit harder to get to. But if it's an automated, they're a lot easier to get to. So I can usually change them out in an hour or 2, depending. So it's just, like I said, 4 studs and nuts, and unplug everything and put the new one in, and it's plug and play. Yeah. But they are well over $2,000, so they're kind of pricey.
Yeah, let's go back to APU side. So what's the reserve capacity of the battery pack?
So again, I calculated we're using 576 watts with is what's rated on our AC unit.
Yeah.
And we figured there is some calculators online. I'm not going to attempt to do those figures right now in my head. But you can look, there are some calculators that will, I believe that's basically ohms, watts, voltage.
Yeah.
I can't think right now. But yeah, we 576 watts with our unit. We calculated about 2.5 hours per battery. So roughly 10 hours is what we came up with. And that's at 576 watts. So your 180 watts is 3.5 times less. So you should, at that, in theory, at 180 watts, you should get close to 30 hours roughly. So just off the top of my head. So
yeah, that would be awesome, right?
So what else we got?
Well, I don't know if you want to
go down one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
C language. Cool.
Yeah, the 579 and the T680s, I think they're actually the same frame. They can correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a lot of similarities. And a lot of times we deal with a lot of different vendors in our area now, since Sophia's kind of came into the business. When I was just doing everything, like doing 3 jobs at once, like doing the parts, doing the accounting, and working on the trucks, and here like 16 hours a day, and taking calls and everything else. I was just like, just get the parts, whatever. But now we've kind of brought a lot more vendors in, and we get kind of pitted people against each other, I guess, or other vendors for competition. So we've gotten our pricing down. Where I was kind of going with that is a lot of time, the Packard part's a Packard part. A lot of stuff that's a lot of times I can get stuff cheaper for a Kenworth at Peterbilt. Over in we deal with Hunter. They've been really aggressive. Hunter, Peterbilt, International. They've been, a lot. Sometimes 30-40% cheaper than my local Kenworth dealer or Ohio Peterbilt. So yeah. Yeah, obviously, yeah, you said something about the 579 is a lot sweeter than the T. Obviously, you're kind of comparing the Peterbilt's going to be a little bit heavier, nicer trim level, I guess, than a T680, and that's kind of like the Ford, Lincoln, or Chevy, Cadillac type of thing. So,
yeah. Do we work on? Yes, we do take Premier. Is that 2,000? I don't know how many thousand they have.
Yeah, I don't know if they're all.
I forgot about the thousands, but we did take a Premier insurance. You guys, if you buy from the dealership.
Yeah, we've worked with a couple of different insurances, and if you actually have a problem and bring it in, there is kind of a process with that, as far as we got to diagnose it, we got to come up with a quote, you got pictures, and you have to have printouts of all the fault codes and all that.
Yeah, basically to get them approved, you're gonna have the fault code that's we can rate it and we can print it out from our software. If the fault code is you delete it before you come here or cleared it before you come here, then it's not anything we can do. Yeah, so to your question, yes, we can do that. And next, can you?
Going from a manual to an automated, that would be a little bit trickier than going the other way. I've had some trucks here where they've had automateds and they've deleted the automated and went to a 10 or 13 speed. So that's a lot simpler than I in my thought process than going the other way, which you're talking. Because at that point, you're gonna have to add a TCM. If it's something like a Freightliner that has a CPC, it's gonna have to everything's have to be flashed. So the engine's talking to the transmission, the CPC, and all that stuff. So it'd be a little bit more complicated, and it'd probably be very expensive. Now, going the other way would you'd be kind of deleting stuff, so instead of adding stuff. So I think that'd be a lot simpler than going to an automated. Most of you all probably know, that watch us, I'm not a big fan of the automated transmissions because, for one, they're a lot more expensive. The clutches, obviously, even though it's an automated, they do have a clutch. There's an actuator. The actuator is like $1,500. We just put one on 2 days ago, I think.
Yeah.
On a Eaton automated.
Yeah.
So that's yeah. And the other part, I mean, you have another computer and more wiring, more sensors, and I try to go less wiring, sensors, and computers. I mean, yeah, it's easier to drive and traffic and all that. I admit that, but for simplicity and maintenance and cost, I think I'd rather just stick with a manual. So.
Yeah. Oh, Pike, you're trying to take my job. Yeah, I'm kidding. Well, we definitely keep you in mind in the future when we expand. But right now, our small business is supporting just us right now. Yeah, but I do appreciate that. We probably, if we need some contract work, we'll contact you.
Always.
Just send us an email. And also, I'm looking if you guys know somebody can build good website for reasonable price and send us email, recommend somebody. I'm looking to overhaul our website, make it a little bit better. A simpler website. Yeah, that's that.
We got anything else?
I don't think we have anything else, guys. I have roughly 40 people here with us the whole time, and I really appreciate everybody joining us. So next week we're gonna see you guys on Friday. We're gonna have some other topics to just discuss, simply just talk to see you guys. And the week after we're gonna be
in travel,
on vacation, and it depends on where we are. If we have kids around, and we might be able to do a live just on the boat.
Internet access cruise as well. So
yeah, that's another thing.
Yeah,
it depends on the situation. We might see you guys that week or might not.
Yeah,
but
or if we're on land, I guess.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We'll try to figure something out. But yeah, we'll be here next week. The Friday after that, we will be in flight. So obviously, it's not going to work out, I don't think.
Right.
So,
okay. Well,
we'll try
guys,
to figure something out.
We'll keep you informed on our plan. But I'm glad and we keep this Friday thing going. At least see you guys and trying to help as much as we can. And I think that's pretty much. Hopefully, we answer all the questions you guys have. And if there's anything missing, keep us posted. And then maybe next episode, let's talk about vacations. That'd be a good idea.
All right, last two. So we're actually going up to Alaska. We're doing a cruise, I've always been kind of against cruises. I was on obviously, a lot of you know, I was in the Navy, but I was in the Sea base, so I really wasn't a surface. I was more on land. But I did have the opportunity to do a Westpac and go to Iraq and all that with the Marines, and I was on the USS Tarawa it was an 11-month deployment. So I said after that I was never going to go on a ship again, especially that we had nothing to do because I was just like a writer, so I didn't have a job on the ship. So it wasn't. It got pretty boring. A lot of computer games and a lot of movies that we watched 500 times the same movie over. But yeah, so we decided we wanted to go up there and thought this was probably the best way to see the coast and glaciers and all that. So we're going to kind of see how it goes and see something different. So we usually don't take summer vacations. We usually go in the wintertime and like to go to the beach or, to Mexico or
get out of snow for a little bit.
Yeah, but this year with as busy we are here and as you get burnt out, so we kind of want to go to where we kind of do 2 every 6 months, get away, because I'm usually here 6 to 7 days a week and you get burnt out pretty quick. So, and I'm the type of person that, even though I might be at home, there's always a project. The last thing somebody asked about the farm stuff. So we actually sold all of our property. So my only farming now is I have a kind of a big garden at the house.
Yeah.
Which is kind of nice having something smaller because I think you can manage it and do it more in a quality way. So yeah, that's kind of what we're doing now. I do still have 2 I got my 530 John Deere left, and my grandpa's Alice Chalmers WD. So that's the only tractors we have left, and pretty much sold all the implements and stuff as well. So for the most part, we're pretty well out of the farming business.
Yeah.
But this is kind of the business here is kind of went, kind of gave all that up, and this is kind of went front and center. So the building and stuff here is kind of my new
hobby
farm, I guess you could say. So there's always something to do here. So.
All right, guys. Really happy to see you guys. And remember, if you're not a subscriber, probably good to subscribe and see us every week. And we have a lot of great stuff to offer. And always like our video if you haven't done so. It'll help us a lot. And well, that's about it. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week, and stay safe and have a happy Father's Day this weekend. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Right.